Hey, welcome to my Warframes Where They Are Now series, a little series I've had brewing in the back of my mind since the early days of Warframe, quote unquote. I'm going to put this little intro at the beginning of every video in this series. If you've heard this once or more, feel free to skip it. This is just my opinion and is not guaranteed to be fact. Remember, with Warframe, everyone plays at least a little different from each other. That's why there's 52 frames as of making this intro, of course. That being said, I do plan on being as objective as I can with this series. But bias will always be a potential problem, and will definitely shine through in certain episodes, if not all. Now, that being said, I hope you enjoy the series. February 10th, 2024. Today we're talking about Harrow Prime, an old favorite of mine. Well, I guess more accurately, Harrow is an old favorite of mine. The Prime came out after I fell in love with him. Base stats on a level 30 Harrow Prime are 185 armor, 190 energy, 370 health, and 740 shields. Harrow's passive is, well, actually he has two of them. The first one is he has double the capacity for overshields, and he also starts with maximum energy. So you don't need preparation on him if you use that. His first ability is Condemn. It's also his Helmet ability, and in my opinion, it's a fucking awesome ability. He sends out a wave of chains that prevent enemies from moving for a short duration, and he also replenishes shields for each enemy that he hits. The shield's the main reason I enjoy that, because it works well with the rest of his kit, but also because, survivability does help with that quite a bit. It also has an augment, that augment being Tribunal, and that being other players will trigger 100% of the effects of Penance and Thurible when attacking chained enemies. I personally don't use this, however it does seem like a lot of fun. The strength of it's not at all affected by ability strength, which is completely fair. I feel like that'd be kind of fucked up to grant a hell of a lot more speed than you'd normally get from like Penance or whatever. But either way. Alright, his second ability is Penance. You sacrifice your shields and you get increased reload speed and fire rate, as well as lifesteal. And the more shields you have when you pop the ability, the longer the ability lasts, which is kind of nice, and with how many overshields he can get, this ability can last for quite some time. But in addition to that, the fire rate boost by itself is already really nice. His third ability is Thurible. You channel it to generate an energy buff, and the longer you channel it, the more you get per kill, and headshots give you even more on top of that. The nice thing is the energy also goes to your allies as well, so if you have an ally that's running a really energy-hungry build, this is a good way to keep them going. Particularly good for if you decide to stay in a mission for the rest of your life, I guess. But in all reality, it is a good ability to have, and I like it a lot. It does have an augment, and that being Warding Thurible. And allies in range take 50% less damage while channeling Thurible, and grant 1 additional energy charge whenever damaged. Both of those are actually increased by energy strength, which in fairness could actually make it quite nasty if you have enough energy strength to give you the 100% damage reduction. I personally don't bother with Warding Thurible, mainly because of Covenant, and honestly the energy buff by itself isn't really worth it for me, because even with 100% ability strength, you're already getting a pretty big amount of energy. Like, it's only a 15% energy conversion, in fairness, but that's per kill in a game where you kill, enemies just by walking into a room. And finally, his fourth ability is Covenant. You and your allies become invulnerable for a short period of time, and any damage that you take is put towards a crit chance buff. All things said and done, at maximum it's 50% crit chance for body shots and 200% for headshots. It doesn't go any higher than that based on strength, however it does become easier to achieve it with ability strength. Honestly, it's not that hard, and the higher level of enemies that you go, the easier it is to do. So if you're building for Covenant, technically you don't need to do strength all that much. I do some for the rest of his stuff, but yeah, I don't go too high. Either way, I know there are better crit chance bonuses, i.e., Nidus's Teeming Virulence, but that does require a mod, but still, I get that. But I do still like this ability a lot. I mainly like it nowadays for the invulnerability. It's good for stuff like arcanes or Netrocells, where, everything can do a ridiculous amount of damage to you. So this kind of helps mitigate that quite a bit, and it's nice that it works on your allies. It's great for, support role. Granted, I usually play alone unless I'm doing anything crazy high anyway, so... Either way, I still enjoy it, but yeah. It does have a augment, that being Lasting Covenant. I like this augment a lot, however I don't use it myself, though I wouldn't mind finding a way to fit it into my build. Headshot kills increase your critical chance bonus duration by 3 seconds. That is actually affected by duration, so if you decide to run this, bear that in mind. I run a high duration build myself, so if I could squeeze it in, it'd actually be pretty good. But I like the idea of that if you're, not after the invulnerability, and there are instances where I'm not, usually levels where it's not really an issue as far as survivability goes. As for my build, as you can see, I run a pretty high duration, and I also have, surprisingly high range and strength, all things considered. It's gonna sound weird, but as for my arcanes, I bounce between the ones I have there and a couple others. With Arcane Energize, I typically bounce between that and Arcane Aegis, because I like having the shield recharge. And as for Arcane Blessing, I usually bounce between that and Guardian. But I usually stick with Blessing, in fairness, but every once in a while I feel like Guardian's more important to have there. With Energize, I like having it there as my emergency oh crap button if I get hit, by a lot of magnet damage, so I can build up real quick so I can get my Thurible going again. But yeah, I do have some Archon shards on him as well. I have an armor shard and then 3 casting speed shards. I'm planning on putting 1 more armor shard on him. Once I do that, I feel like I won't need to bounce to Guardian at all, to be realistic. But yeah, so how does Harrow perform for Diviri? Well, I love getting him. He is one of my top picks whenever I see him. Obviously my top pick is Equinox because I like Equinox, but he is still up there. He's definitely one of the ones I tend to grab if he's there. Having that crit chance bonus, particularly in Diviri, because of how, of how the weapons work there, can come in handy and usually does. As well as the invulnerability and the shield generator that is his first ability. He does tend to keep me alive for quite a while. Honestly, Harrow is a frame that I fell in love with almost immediately. I beat Chains of Harrow and farmed him as fast as I could. Which, to be fair, Chains of Harrow had already been out for quite a while by the time I came back from my hiatus, but still. As soon as I got him, I started playing with him, and honestly, I found that his abilities are very intuitive for how I play the game. I like him for both his support role as well as even solo. Honestly, with solo, it's kind of nice to just never have to worry about energy or shields in that aspect. As well as having the fire rate buff is honestly a guilty pleasure of mine. It's one of the reasons I like to run a few of the frames that I run. I know it's kind of rich coming from somebody who talks about liking Equinox so much. But, jokes aside, Harrow is a lot of fun, and I feel like he's really good where he's at. I don't think he really needs any buffs or debuffs. I think he's perfectly fine. I don't even know what the hell they do for an augment for his second ability, but we may eventually get one, because, the 4 augments for the frames and whatnot. But, yeah, when they announced Harrow Prime, I got pretty damn excited. Felt weird with the timing, though, the fact that he came out with New War. But either way, thank you all for watching. Let's go spin that wheel. Alright, y'all have yourselves a good day.